If there's one law regulating guns that's showing some momentum, showing some consensus lately, it's red flag laws. They temporarily suspend a person's gun rights if they're having dangerous mental health issues. Prominent Republicans are issuing an unmistakable warning to their GOP colleagues in the state Senate not to block this red flag bill introduced today. Here's politics guy Brandon Rittiman.
The bill is named for Douglas County Deputy Zach Parrish, who was shot and killed New Year's Eve, responding to a disturbance at an apartment complex. The man who shot him also died. Parrish's family thinks a red flag law could prevent a repeat. Sheriff Tony Spurlock spoke for them.
I have spoken to them as early as this morning, and they beg you, they beg the legislators, the Senate, to pass this bill.
The sheriff's a Republican, and he's calling out the Senate because his fellow Republicans are in charge there. It'll take their support to pass this bill, and they were notably absent from the kickoff.
We are not trying to take anything away from anyone. What we're trying to do is save lives. And if you get in front of this, or you interfere with it, or you don't vote for it, you are not putting the Colorado citizens who you represent, you're putting them in harm's way. You are not doing your job.
The bill would allow a law enforcement officer, family member, or even a roommate to ask a judge to suspend your gun rights and take your weapons. Conservatives don't like the idea you could lose your constitutional right to bear arms over a report someone files against you. But GOP supporters say Colorado's bill would give gun owners more options than other states with similar laws.
This bill it's like none other in the country in terms of its efforts to protect due process rights.
Among those protections for gun owners, the Colorado bill would require the courts to give you a hearing within 7 days. The court would have to find that the evidence does in fact show you are a danger in order to keep blocking your gun rights any longer than that. For Next, I'm Brandon Rittiman.
Senate Republicans are being pretty non-committal about this bill right now, so we're going to have to wait and see. The bill supporters also have a time crunch ahead of them because the session ends next Wednesday. As we mentioned that bill named for Deputy Zach Parrish, we should also mention his injured colleague Jeff Pelley came back to work today. He was shot in that same ambush in Highlands Ranch 17 weeks ago. Pelley has been documenting his recovery on Twitter. He sent out this photo today with thanks to the Sheriff's Office for its support. When Mauricio Venzor-Gonzalez escaped sheriff's deputies during a hospital visit, Denver was warned quite publicly that the community is not safe so long as he's out there. So 6 weeks later, we asked the Denver police, is he still out there, or do they think he fled the area or the country? Denver police haven't talked a whole lot about this case lately. They told us today, well, they don't know where Mauricio Venzor-Gonzalez is. They said that they are still actively working to locate him. Goes without saying, anybody with information should contact police. Of all the hearings that Congressman Doug Lamborn has had to sit through in his 11 years in Congress, which one do you think had his complete and total attention? I would wager it's the one this morning, a hearing in a federal courtroom in downtown Denver, where Lamborn is suing to get his name back on the ballot in June. If you think you're tired of hearing about this, so is Marshall Zellinger, who sat through all the hearings.
And that's why those funds have been requested.
This is the type of hearing Congressman Doug Lamborn is used to attending.
How important is it to have additional options in our nuclear stockpile?
He sits on the House Armed Services Committee, but today he was on the 7th floor inside this federal courthouse in downtown Denver.
We gave it our best shot. We hope and pray that justice is done, that I'm restored to the ballot.
Lamborn sat in court this morning as he fought to get a federal judge to put his name back on the primary ballot. 1 week ago, a state Supreme Court ruling took Lamborn's name off the ballot. The court threw out signatures collected by someone who did not live in Colorado, dropping Lamborn below the 1,000 signature requirement.
It's each individual signature that really matters, whether that's a proper and lawful signature. That should be a lot more important than who's holding the clipboard.
Not according to Colorado Law 1-4-905. Petition circulators must be state residents, also the same party as the candidate. Even the judge said, isn't that something Congressman Lamborn has been well aware of for years? There are more than 1 million registered Republicans in Colorado. The company Lamborn hired to collect signatures used 13. 2 of them were found to have not been Colorado residents.
We did our due diligence, and the company we contracted with did their due diligence. Who's holding the clipboard? Yeah, that's interesting, but it shouldn't count to the same extent of the person who's actually signing the petition.
So now what? We don't have a ruling yet tonight, so likely tomorrow. Even if the judge rules against Lamborn, he's pulled out a wild card. As you saw, he's down to 942 signatures, which means he needs 58 more to be okay. He's now also suing the Secretary of State in Denver District Court to find at least 58 clerical errors. Messy handwriting, missing apartment numbers. Kyle, that's a remedy he could have chose before all the signature mess that he's in now with the invalid signatures. He chose not to do it. The state could argue, hey, Lamborn, it's too late now.
I am so ready for this to be done, and I know you feel the same. All right, thank you, Marshall. Most questions that we receive here at Next are requests for additional detail. Bob wrote to us asking for quite the opposite. He emailed asking for a super simple 30-second summary of the governor's race. Who's running, who isn't? You got it, Bob.
The governor's race in 30 seconds. The Democrats. Former State Senator Mike Johnston, education reformer opposed by teachers' unions. Former State Treasurer Kerry Kennedy, endorsed by teachers' unions. Lieutenant Governor Donald Lynn, basically endorsed by Governor Hickenlooper. Congressman Jared Polis, no debate, he's a front-runner. The Republicans. Former Parker Mayor Greg Lopez, underdog who made the ballot. Former State Rep Victor Mitchell. He prefers we call him a businessman. Businessman Doug Robinson raised concerns over legal marijuana. And State Treasurer Walker Stapleton raised money, lots of money. And that's the race.
We have promised you that we won't just examine issues on this program, but look at solutions, too. We talked a lot about the shutdown of one of Colorado's largest mental health providers, Arapahoe House. Tonight, progress to report. Here's Steve Steger.
Often the story of addiction is focused on closed doors.
Well, welcome to the Crisis and Recovery Center.
And while this story is about a door that closed, we'd rather focus on how it opened again.
Many people have a perception of substance use and mental illness, which is usually negative. And in this environment, it's not a negative.
Because this building near 46th and Wadsworth used to be a drug and alcohol detox center run by Arapahoe House. When Arapahoe House went out of business, Jefferson Center took over the detox center and added a new component.
So anybody with a behavioral health issue can come into our doors rather than having to go to two separate places or to end up in emergency rooms.
This is now called a crisis center. Downstairs is detox.
We built out this floor of the building.
Upstairs, a 24-hour walk-in crisis center where people suffering a mental health breakdown can get immediate help without a trip to the hospital.
It's really non-institutional, unlike a hospital, which can be pleasant enough, but still very institutional. Peace and quiet, if you will, really does help them to de-escalate.
So often, substance abuse and behavioral health problems coexist.
In many settings, they may address one or the other, but we know that they need to be treated simultaneously in order for the best outcome.
A powerful new way to treat addiction and mental health problems in one building, assuring there's always an open door.
That was Steve Steger reporting. Listen, we cannot stress it enough. The Colorado Crisis Hotline is an instant resource that is available to every Coloradan 24 hours a day. Anybody who's struggling or knows someone who is. You see the number there, 844-493-8255. They're not going to pass you off or take down your number. They will get you assistance now, including perhaps at one of those 6 walk-in crisis centers in the metro area. It is time to fact-check another claim being made about education in our state. There's a document circulating on social media suggesting Dougco schools will give students a break on discipline if their parents are big supporters of the district. Not true. Our verified team could not find a shred of evidence that this is anything but an online hoax. So that's why we're bringing it up here before this goes viral. The document says Dougco is considering levels of discipline based on parents' level of support. The district insists this is bogus. They note that there was no April 10th board meeting when this was supposedly proposed. Dougco also notes that its policies are by letter, not by number. Now, here's your big giveaway. That is the real Douglas County School District logo, but next to it, it says Douglas County Unified School District. There is no unified in the district's name, just like there's no proposal to go easy on kids whose parents are big supporters.
All right, summer, slow your roll. There are spring things yet to be done. Rain is on the way after our warm weekend. Would you sacrifice your job to tell the truth? Veteran journalist Dave Krieger did, and he joins us to talk about it.
I was prepared to take the consequences. I've been fired. I'm not suing anybody, you know. They had the right to do that. But I had the right under the First Amendment to say what I had to say and to try to get the story out.
And the end of a mannequin shop brings out stories that are about as weird as you would expect.
Believe me, they take on a different view when you're in here at night.
We learn just who is in the market for mannequins next.
'80s over the weekend, '70s today, and now a storm on the way. A storm that'll bring cooler weather and some beneficial rain. We need that. The smoke and haze just kind of indicative of the wildfires burning across about 7 states. That smoke coming into our state today. 73 degrees. Our afternoon high temperature will be about 10 degrees cooler tomorrow. After a hazy, mild night with the storm on the way, there'll be a little snow in the northern mountains tomorrow with scattered showers for northern Colorado tomorrow afternoon. The bulk of the precip will move over northern Colorado because of the orientation of these two low pressure systems that are coming our way. But I still think Denver will get in on some of the action with periods of rain starting tomorrow night through Wednesday and Thursday that could give us an inch of rain by the time the storm moves out on midday Thursday. 44, hazy, mild tonight with less wind, partly cloudy, high 63, an afternoon shower, widespread rain tomorrow night, scattered showers and cooler weather for Wednesday and Thursday ahead of a nice weekend warming trend. A late day thunderstorm back in the Sunday afternoon forecast.
The hedge fund that owns the Denver Post tried to silence a voice at the Boulder Daily Camera newspaper, which it also owns. The Camera's publisher would not allow an editorial criticizing their ownership. So editorial page editor Dave Krieger just posted it on an independent website. And then he lost his job over it. The editorial called Alden Global Capital an existential threat to the newspaper, as that company cuts newsrooms and bleeds them of any remaining revenue. Let me ask you a question that non-journalists have asked me. If you criticize your boss publicly, you're going to get fired, right? Lots of people in lots of jobs will get fired for that. Why is journalism different?
Well, journalism is different because we're the storyteller in the community. So if there's another institution that's 128 years old, is on the verge of being destroyed, we would cover that story. And that's how people in Boulder would find out about it. When it's happening to the newspaper, if the newspaper doesn't tell that story, nobody's going to find out about it.
Same owner as the Denver Post. We have seen the staff there in what's being called an open rebellion against ownership. Some people may not know, they have union protections that allow a lot of their journalists to speak out against the ownership. Not much is being said about the Camera and other smaller papers all around Colorado owned by this same group.
That's very true. I mean, we are a non-union shop. All of Prairie Mountain Media, which is Longmont and Loveland and Sterling and Fort Morgan, all non-union shops. And more importantly, in terms of the current situation, why the Post was able to publish what they published and we were not, is the Post doesn't have a publisher right now. And so there is no goalie on the business side saying we refuse.
What were you hoping to accomplish, and did you inadvertently accomplish it through all of the attention that's been paid to your firing?
It's very important to me that we continue to tell this story so that Boulder, like Denver, has the opportunity to make a decision. Do we want to save this institution? If so, how do we go about doing that? Or do we not care? Is it so far beyond the pale at this point that we'd be better off starting something else? As long as people know the facts on the ground, they can make that call. If they have no idea, then the paper disappears one day and everybody goes, how'd that happen? Why'd that happen?
Alden Global Capital's quest to keep criticism of the company out of their papers will face a test tomorrow night. Boulder City Council meeting includes a declaration in support of editorial independence for the paper. The Camera's editor tweeted that they plan to cover it. You can see my full conversation with Dave Krieger on the Next YouTube page, youtube.com/next on 9 News. So you'll hear us refer to these newspapers' hedge fund owners. May I make a recommendation to read up on hedge funds, how they work, how private equity funds make money off the companies we know? I'd refer you to this excellent article from Splinter News. Great insight on an industry that's often mentioned with negative connotations. You can find a link on the Next Facebook page. With sharp-eyed Next viewers on the prowl, you businesses really got to be careful what you put up on those sliding letter signs. Can I say, read the whole thing out loud. And I came in to find that on my desk today. There is a creepy and completely sensible explanation, and it's next. Still there, just creepily waving at me the entire time. This next story will either entertain you or it will be the stuff of nightmares for days. It has been the stuff of life for two brothers. Our Ann Herbst introduces us to them and their many headless, naked friends.
been a proud 30 years.
Certain things happen when a business closes after 3 decades.
Total bliss.
The Davis brothers are packing boxes, slashing prices.
It's wheeling and dealing.
And helping nearly 100 faithful employees find new jobs.
This guy is Freddie. So
because they'd all probably be pretty stiff at job interviews.
Yeah, good thing is they don't talk back.
Bill.
Which is really nice. They are a true dummy.
And Mike Davis.
You get into that alien look.
Are getting out of the mannequin game.
This is mannequin.
A lot of people, when they hear the name mannequin, wow, and you're in the mannequin business?
Mannequin thrived when retail was king.
This business has changed a lot. And it goes along with the retail trends. If stores are closing, they're sure not buying mannequins.
Their list of clients is diverse.
So all the tuxedo rental companies,
Nordstrom's,
menswear stores, bridal companies.
Really diverse.
A couple that asked for a few minutes to be alone with the mannequin so they could make a decision.
Your mind can go a zillion different places with that.
Sold another one to a gentleman that thought he fell in love with her.
You don't gotta fall in love, but the brothers want new homes for each one of their mannequins, even though...
And believe me, they take on a different...
They kind of freak Mike out.
...view when you're in here at night.
So if you're looking for an extra hand around the house...
I got it.
The brothers promise it won't cost an arm and a... Never mind.
I love it. That's not the first time we've heard that story, too. It's not that bad. I wouldn't lose my head over that one.
For next, this is Ann Herbst.
Can I have a few minutes alone with a mannequin to decide? No, you may not. Mannequin also has a real human employee who's worked there for 18 years, and the brothers told us they want him to find a place to land most of all. It's a sign that Del Taco isn't just serving shrimp tacos these days, it is looking to employ them as well. Now hiring shrimp tacos 2 for $5. Although I don't know how many takers they're going to get if they are only willing to pay 2 of them $5 for what presumably is difficult work. Perhaps I'm missing something here. Perhaps next viewer Karen Duhame missed the same thing when she saw the sign in Littleton. I don't know. Send us the signs that make you smile. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. It's a shame the White House Correspondents' Dinner got so much attention over the weekend. You should have seen the crowd that I did. That and your feedback next. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is getting a lot of attention for crossing the line between comedy and cruelty. I'll say this, it certainly didn't help journalists' image as snobby elites. I didn't see anybody like that at the Denver Press Club's Damon Runyon Awards dinner over the weekend. I did see 7 aspiring journalists honored for their work in college, single mom and a combat vet among them. And I heard Washington Post executive editor Marty Barron repeat his exhortation to journalists in this time of Trump. Not to go to war, just to go to work. Humbly listening to Americans and telling their stories honestly. There's nothing fake or elite or cruel about that. Finish with your feedback. John says, Dave Krieger is exactly the type of journalist the country needs. I agree. Not the echo chamber bias types we're forced to endure on 9 News, NBC, and CNN. John, Krieger was on the program. We're fans, too. It's okay. Dan Rupp writes in, love the story on the Jefferson County Detox and Mental Health Center. We need more places like that. As an addict in recovery, I can say it does help. 5 years sober now. Dan, 5 years is a big, big deal. We are happy for you. We are glad for your health and sobriety. See you next time.